Hey, Jeremy here. Today I want to be showing you how to use the perspective grid tool in Illustrator CC. Most people don't know about this tool. It seems kind of tricky to use, but it's really simple once you understand a bit about perspective and the tool. So we're just going to jump right into it. I've got these two images of Google just to show you a little bit about what perspectives are. So you got 1 point perspective, 2 point perspective, and 3 point perspective. You can see how the first one, it has one vanishing point. As the cube goes off into the distance, it's just one vanishing point. And then the 2 point perspective is it has two vanishing points. And you can see that there's just one horizon line, but the placement of the vanishing points can be, longer and create, a different effect. 2 point perspective is the most common thing because it allows objects to be, protruded and give that sort of effect. A lot of times I use it when I'm doing isometric objects or isometric design. So it's really handy to use this tool sometimes if I want to do that. And then finally, you got 3 point perspective. So you can see it's got a more 3D look. It's got 3 vanishing points. So it's got the horizon line up here, and then it's got a vanishing point down here. And it gives you that, really cool 3D effect. And here's just another image just showing the 2 point perspective. You can see how the houses are here, the illustration, and then they go off to the distance. Vanishing point 1, vanishing point 2, and you can see the horizon line here. And just put it on a grid. That's the simplest way I can explain it. But the best thing is to do is just practice and you'll understand how it works. But everything's mathematical, works in lines, that type of thing. So I'm going to jump right into it. You can see I've just did this little quick illustration here. And I use the perspective grid tool. As you can see, using the planes. I'm just going to quickly delete that. And to get this up, I'm just going to close it. What we're going to do is go onto the left here. And then it's just this tool here. And the shortcut key is Shift P. So if you press Shift P, you're going to get the grid up. So what we're going to do first, before we jump right into it, we're going to go to Control K or Command K and go to your grids and make sure the grid try and just put it to 1 pixel because it might stuff up your grids when you're moving the objects. So just change that. We can also change what we want. So if we go to View, go down to Perspective Grid, and you can actually choose what perspective you want. So if you want 1 point, it's going to change to that 1 point, as you can see. You can also go to 2 point, which is that one. And you can also do 3 point, which we were talking about before. And you can see how it's got a more bird's eye view. And you can see the planes going out like that. So those are the quick options you can use. I'm just going to use 2 point today because it's a lot easier to work with. And it's not too, crazy. You can also go to Define Grid. And what we're going to do here is you can customize the options of the grid to the way you want it to look like. So again, you can change the perspective here. You can change if you want in points or millimeters. Sometimes people use this if they're working with maybe it's an architect or it's a CAD, similar to a CAD program where they're building, real live objects like wood cutting or metalwork. And sometimes people use this program for that type of stuff. You can change the grid every 30 or whatever you want to change it to. I'm just going to leave it like that. You can also change the angles. You can also change the colors of the planes. You can also change the opacity as well. I'm just going to drop this down a little bit, just to 40%. And it'll change the opacity of the grid lines. So you can play around that in your own time. So we're just going to leave it to this. So to edit our grids and our planes, what we're going to do, press Shift P, and you can just start dragging stuff. So you can see you got all these dot points. What we can do now is if I drag this up and down, it's going to increase the height of both the planes. If we go on the right here and if you move this out, it's going to adjust the vanishing point. It's going to keep it straight, but it's going to adjust it, if it's going to be wider out or if you want a skewed plane. You can do the same to the other side, like that. You can also drag these points as well on the edges here to change the height of the vanishing point. So you can see if you want it really sharp or you can make it really high. So it's all up to you what you want to work with. You can also move it like this by holding the left corner one. And you can also adjust the height as well by bringing that down if you want to make it really big. I'm going to keep it small. You can also adjust this plane as well, the planes themselves with this little button, as you can see. It's a little gray thing. You can adjust the planes by themselves. And you can also make it go further. So you can drag this and you can make it further. And when you zoom in, the grid will come up. You can edit that in the options if you want to see it further and further. So yeah, that's pretty much how you move that and edit those. And you can see you can drag these ones as well, that side as well. So yeah, that's the way how you edit the grids. You can adjust it to how you want it and what you want to do. So we're gonna go to view now. You can also go to lock station point. So if I do this and press Shift P again, it's gonna move it together. You see how it's shifting it now? Instead of just shifting the one plane, it's gonna do both sides and it's gonna move it to a certain angle. And you can see the vanishing point changes as well. So that's just a handy point as well. Just gonna Control Z that. And if you want to lock the grid as well, you can also go lock grid. So I'm just gonna unlock that station point. And you can also hide the grid and show rulers as well, so you can see the height. Maybe you're working on an isometric or maybe an infographic, and you want specific measurements or whatever. You can do that. So I'm just going to turn the rulers off for now. And you can also save the grid as well, real quick. You can save the grid as a preset. So if you have a custom grid, you can save it and change it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to create an object. But first, to put an object on a specific plane, what we have to do is press Shift V. You can also go to the perspective tool down there, press Shift V. And what we can do is we can select which plane we want to design on. So if I press Shift V, then I press 1, you can see in the left-hand corner where my mouse is, the little widget, you will see that it changes. So if I press 1, it goes on the left plane, 2 goes to the bottom plane, 3 goes to the right-hand side, and then 4, it goes into like an isolate mode where I can just build objects flat. Sometimes it's good just to build your objects flat. So I'm just going to build a quick object here. Maybe I want to build like a air conditioning vent or whatever it is. Just play around. So I'm just going to group this. So now you can see how it's all flat, our object. But now if I select this and press Shift V, and then if I press 3 and then start dragging the object, it's going to drag it onto the plane. And you can see in the widget, it's changed to the plane that I selected. So now it's putting it direct in perspective. And you can scale it up. Make sure it's selected on the plane and you have Shift V, which is this perspective selection tool, so it doesn't start stuffing it up. Because if I select out of it and then I start dragging it, it's going to go off into its own thing. So make sure you press Shift V and then you scale it up so it's perfectly on the grid and it's aligned and it's not just going to start skewing the object. So that's pretty handy. Just like this. And then sometimes what I'll do, I'll select this and then you can use the reflect tool and then I can reflect it just like that. And I'll make the other side and I can start building like, a building, or if you're doing like a housing or whatever. And you can do it like that way. And then it can work for both sides as well. So just press Shift V for the bottom. Just make sure you press number 4 when you want to build some more stuff. Maybe I want to put this one on the bottom. So you Shift V, then you select number 1 or 2 or 3, and then you select the object and then you drag it. You can see. And you can use the grid. A quick note as well, if it's not snapping to the grid, go to View and make sure Snap to Grid is selected. Try not to do Snap to Point because it will stuff it up. But if you go Snap to Grid, all your measurements and stuff are set up correctly, then it should be fine. And you can always just go in here and manipulate it and move it to the direct line. So don't worry too much about it. But yeah, so I got that, and then you can go bring to back, and that's how you just start building out your elements and create some cool illustrations, even some isometric work as well, with the perspective tool. So yeah, that's how you use it. It's not too difficult. Just, the best thing to do is just play around with it, experiment, to try and build like maybe a house or something cool. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if this helped you out, and don't forget to subscribe for more design content every week.